So Arsenal continue their title charge-ish as they beat Newcastle. So Arsenal end up beating Newcastle 2-0. Getting by, Newcastle had chances, but Arsenal were the ones who took them. Their captain leading their way with that goal from Odegaard. Great stuff by them. Obviously, they had the Newcastle sort of burst in the first 5 minutes. Jacob Murphy in the post. The crowd were rowdy and there was proper up for it. But then it was that Odegaard strike early on, just after that, which really sort of gave Arsenal that sort of calming tempo and really sort of nulled out that Newcastle flame. They fell a bit flat and Arsenal were just able to pass it around them quite easily, which didn't help Newcastle at all. I thought the end of the first half especially, obviously Newcastle did have a few chances, but Arsenal were in control. They had most possession. Yes, they had to defend set pieces and stuff, but overall it got a bit scrappy and Arsenal were able to sort of deal with that calmness. There weren't too many flying challenges or anything. Newcastle weren't pouncing upon them like they have before on other teams where they've scored goals galore. And in the first 10 minutes before Arsenal scored, it looked that way, that Newcastle could have scored, but certain chances that they had, the final passes weren't there and it really didn't help them in the end. It gets to half time, Newcastle come out the blocks again. Great stuff, and they look, like Eddie Howe must have gave them a bit of a rough and run up in the half time, and they was back on top over Arsenal. The crowd were behind them, as the Geordie boys are. Why, hey man, they're loving it, and what these Newcastle have become is amazing. They are a superpower, and I believe they probably will get top 4 above Man United, who bloody lost as well, to sort of gets Liverpool into the title race. But there was just in the final third that killer pass, which they're normally so good at, they couldn't get right, and it was Arsenal's time where obviously they had that one attack and Newcastle gets some bad luck. Own goal, Fabian Schar. Ramsdale, obviously the first half he was hurried by a few shots, but realistically he was taking his time afterwards. Yes, Newcastle were on top for bits, but Arsenal defended well, and it's what they needed. They needed to get over that hurdle. It was a big game for them, and they've done it. 1 point behind City. Obviously City would have to slip up twice, which is very unlikely, but they're keeping up stride after their sort of mistakes that they've made earlier on in the season with the draws coming in. But a big win against Newcastle. Now they go on to Chelsea, and hopefully if they can beat them, they've sort of escaped the big run of games, and they've just got to hope that some team, they've obviously got West Ham City, I think they've got Brighton, they've just got to slip up against one of them. It could happen, but we've saw City before, and in this end of the game, I think they're 10 unbeaten. They're unbelievable, and I think it'll be City's league anyway. That big game against City was the decider, but as for Newcastle, they've got high hopes. Man United losing was a big plus for them, but they need to just continue performing. I think they've got a few tricky fixtures, but not too hard. Obviously, not too much the big 6 left to face, and that will really help them for their top 4 push. Obviously, I think they're 1 point ahead of Man United, so there's still that option of they could fall out. It could be other Newcastle, Man United to fall out for Liverpool if they drop points in some race. But what they have done this season, what Eddie Howe's done, is amazing. I think next season they'll be top 6. They've been incredible. Obviously, we saw it where Leicester sort of broke into top 4, dropped out at the very end. If it happens to Newcastle, it'll be big. But I think with the investment that they've got, with the aim that they've got, the owners, the manager, what he's been saying about signings, they want to recruit young, it's all looking bright for the Geordies. I know this is a loss. I think the big change is last season they'd be scared of these games, wondering whether there's like going to get battered 5-0. Now they sort of enjoy these games, and they gave Arsenal a good game. Ultimately, Arsenal's quality in the final third was the big decider. Their captain stepping up really helped, and then obviously they get the luck with their own goal. But there was a few times where Saka was in, Pope made a few mistakes, and it seemed like Newcastle was a bit under pressure. But we've saw them bounce back from that loss. Obviously, when Villa smashed them, the run that they went on, the goals that they scored was immense. So I expect them to bounce back next game, and I would favour Newcastle in getting top 4 over Man United at the moment, because that mistake from De Gea in the West Ham game was awful. Liverpool, I expect to win all their games, and then they'll be breathing down on both Man United and Newcastle next. But I feel like Newcastle just got that thing this season where every time they take an L, a loss, they have that reaction, and Eddie Howe knows they have to get that reaction. Whereas Man United have been playing the same all this time, and now they've hit a roadblock. Can Ten Hag deal with it? They got knocked out of Europa League, and they'll know they've won the Carabao Cup. But can they get over into the Champions League? Yes, they're in the FA Cup final. We'll have to see how that goes. If they win that, FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, it ain't a bad season. But if they miss out on that top 4, it's been crucial. And it's been that sort of season where, Ten Hag's a masterclass. You know, he's got us back in the top 4. Ollie did it, and then he dropped out again. If Ten Hag drops out, it will be seen as a little bit of disappointment, especially how long they've been in this season in the top 4. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But the Premier League is looking tasty. The title race, top 4 race, obviously the race for Europe is basically over because Villa have lost. It's going to be Brighton, Spurs, or Liverpool, whoever slips out of the top 4. Then you got the relegation battle. It's all looking crazy in the last few games. So I hope you guys enjoy. Please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.